Welcome to the podcast, where we teach you how to create marketing that pops. Get ready for refreshing conversations with industry experts, trendsetters, and creative minds that'll leave you bubbling with inspiration. Get ready to turn up the volume on your business. Let's get popping. I don't know why. We need to figure out an intro or some sorts where it's like, hello.
We're ready to pop.
Today, we're going to be talking about why your content isn't working. You know, there's lots of reasons why it might not be working, so we're going to go through that and try to help you guys out.
Great.
The first thing that comes to mind, Michelle, what I have a list, but what's first that comes to your mind? And I'm sure it'll be on here.
First thing that comes to my mind is we're not answering the prospect's problem. Mm-hmm. So if it's all about us, that's not going to connect with them. But if, say, they're having a problem getting leads, maybe the headline is something like that to kind of, oh, yes, I am having a problem getting leads. How can this company help me?
Yes. The first thing that comes to mind why I think that, your content might not be working is maybe you're missing out on some of the trends, because there's a lot of trends that are going on when it comes to, fun marketing. And if you're not jumping on those bandwagons right away, sometimes you kind of miss out on that opportunity. One thing I would say is every month you should kind of look and see what's going on, the different things that are going on in marketing, cool things, and try to implement those the next week, because as you know, once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, it goes really fast.
It really does. It's
and if you're the last one, even 5 days, it's yeah, we saw that already. Everybody's doing that now.
Yeah, speaking of that, so, there's this Calvin Klein ad that was really popular with, I forget his name, but he's on this TV show called The Bear. Basically, he was doing this Calvin Klein ad, and it's really popular in New York and all this stuff, but this luggage company, they jumped right on it, and what they did was they put the Calvin Klein underwear on the luggage, and then they went to some rooftop, and they had it laying on its side and doing all these different things, and it was wow.
That's cute.
Yeah, they jumped on it right away, and it kind of had a little viral moment. So, just trying to figure out different ways that you can see things that are going on. Obviously, Calvin Klein underwear has nothing to do with luggage, but they found a cool way to kind of make that work.
Right. Kind of the Barbie thing was very hot, and then everybody's jumping on that bandwagon.
Yes.
Oh, how can we connect with the Barbie audience?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so next I would say that your content might not be relevant to your target audience. So basically what I mean is you need to tailor your messaging and your content to the interest and needs of your audience.
Yeah, I think sometimes I call it pray and spray. If you just put a message out there and just throw it to everybody in your database, you're not going to have as good results, because we really need to make sure that, hey, if we're talking to a marketing manager, we're sending content relevant to that person versus a CFO. So, for example, if we were to send an email out about, hey, we can save you money in your marketing budget, the CFO is going to connect with it. Wait, what? I can spend less money with you guys?
Right.
Where the marketing managers, what are the cool campaigns that we could be doing, and how much can I put in my budget to spend, and things like that. So it's just really making sure that you're connecting with the right people and you're not just sending it to anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I would agree wholeheartedly with all of that.
I think just to add on that is, segmenting your list
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible, because say, for example, we go to MJ BizCon, we get all these contacts and leads, and some want partnerships, some want our help, some want social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like we could take that list and just really segment that so that they're getting the right email drip campaigns that we're doing.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. I think a lot of companies like tend to forget that it's like, yes, you might have one product that you're selling to people, but understanding like there might be different checkpoints, I guess you could say, that the audience might need to go on. Yeah, so segmenting is definitely good. After any big event, make sure you look through it and make those different things, and then maybe that will help you kind of guide you of like, oh, okay, well, so we have a lot of people in this category. Let's figure out what our content's going to look like for these people. And that could be your guiding post there.
Mm-hmm. Even like, what state are they located in?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe we have a Michigan list or a California list, and so those are all important things too. Because then you can talk Michigan, like events, or you can connect with them in that way.
Yeah, for sure. Visual appeal. So I mean, we're not gonna lie. You do have to have good visuals. If your visuals are lackluster, that does that's a part of it. So people won't necessarily click if it's boring, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have bright colors. So obviously everybody knows Apple, but they are very simple and minimal, but their stuff is still very relevant and eye-catching and engaging, and you want to click and know more because it's sleek and modern. So you can still have a powerful message and have a clean aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. They all, that saying like perception is reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that. I like to think of it that way, because if you're putting out this crappy marketing piece that an intern put together that doesn't have the right colors, is using like 20 fonts, things like that, people are gonna be, what the heck are they doing? They don't know what they're doing over there. That's not a respectable company.
Right.
So a lot of companies we work with end up coming to us for a website because they're doing all this really cool stuff on one side of the, like they're doing like fun social, and their environment, the culture is really cool, but then you go to their website and it's very boring. It doesn't showcase like their personality. So you have to figure that out and figure out, what do you want to be perceived as.
Yeah, for sure. Like you gotta have some good graphics going on. And so I would say like invest. That's something that I would invest in, and invest in visually appealing graphics that, high quality images. You don't want stuff that's, fuzzy, or like people are trying to read it and you're like, I don't really know what that is. And then obviously just being consistent. Like I've experienced where you're following somebody and their stuff is just like all over the place. I'm like, who is this brand? I don't even remember. And then you go back to the profile, you're like, oh yeah, none of this stuff looks like the same at all.
I think fonts too are really important, and sometimes you can tell if it's somebody that's not really a designer, because they're using this cutesy script font or something that you can't read, and people are like, what does that say? I can't read that. Or even think about signs.
Yeah.
Like I have seen signs and I'm like, I have no idea what that says, just because it's all tiny and squished together. And like,
there's a couple of billboards like on your way to Muskegon that are like over on the right side of the road, and I'm like, they might as well not even put that up there because I can't read it.
I know.
Like, I don't even think the deer can read, like, see that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, people try to put way too much on a billboard, and it's like, we're going 60 miles an hour, man. We need to be quick.
Yeah.
Don't, list all of your features, like, on the billboard, because you're not gonna get through.
Yes. The next thing I would say is call to actions. So often I feel like you'll have great content, but like you forget to ask. You forget to tell the user to do something, to engage with you. And so having compelling call to actions and very specific and easy, easy to follow call to actions are really what you need to have.
Yeah. You can always tell, like, somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing in marketing if you just see just an ad that is just talking about themselves. They're not talking to the pain points of the prospect. Then they're not, like, saying how to reach out to us for help, which is the most important thing, and that's why you do ads. So, and not just on that side of the coin for the prospect, but for your side as well. Like, that way we have the data. We can track things because we know how many people clicked on that button or QR code or whatever, or they had to download this thing and they had to put in their email, so we capture their email. So those are, from a marketer's perspective, those are, like, really important. But yeah, the end user has to feel like they get to do something.
Kind of just to piggyback off what Michelle's saying is, a lot of times people will come to us and, like, one easy quick fix that you can do is to just gate your content. Like, sometimes, like, your content might be working, but if you're not tracking it and if you're giving it away for free, then you have no way to know, like, is this actually working? Like, people could just be going to your site and you could have great traffic, but if you're not, like, getting the form fills, if you're not asking people to do something with those call to actions, then, obviously that's a really big missed opportunity to follow up, to have leads, to turn those into actual clients.
And there's a lot of disagreement out there about that, right? Do you gate every single piece of content? Do you gate only the highest of quality content, but yet give away other free items without doing that? So it really just depends on the company, like, what their philosophy is.
What do you think, Michelle? Like,
what do I think?
Yeah.
I think that there's certain things that maybe you don't gate, but I think, like, the valuable stuff, things that we've spent a lot of time creating and developing, then we gate, because we want to feel like people can come to us and we're adding value, we're teaching them, we're helping them do their job. But on the other hand, it's like, well, we can't give you everything. We can't teach you everything,
right,
without getting your information. And it goes both ways, but I think, giving them some cool free things is good too. Like, for example, like a website audit, or put in your domain and boom, you're gonna get the the audit or the whatever it may be. But
no, I agree. I think, like, giving people, like, at least a little bit of something to to feel like they're testing out how it would be working with you, or seeing, like, what, again, those solutions that you would be able to provide. And I feel like that just gives people an idea of who you are as a company, that in turn could get them to come back and do more. So
yeah, I think too, like, when you're thinking about that customer journey, it's like, well, they don't really know or trust you yet. So they're okay, you got their attention, they've been to your website, they want this cool thing you have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I gotta put in my thing. I mean, how many times have you backed out of something because you're like, I don't want to like put in my email.
Yes.
But it's like, okay, you give them a little free kind of a teaser, and then they're like, wow, that was really cool. What else do they have? You know, and then they come back, and then now they're like, okay, they're a cool company. Like, that was a really helpful tool I did. I'll download this other thing because if it's gated, it must be really good.
Yeah, I mean, and if they like what they got initially, then they're like, okay, of course you can have my contact information. Like, I want to know more.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing I would say is platform-specific content. So it kind of goes hand in hand with all of these different things, but, just optimizing your content for those platforms. Like, you're not going to post the same thing on LinkedIn that you would do on something else. And the other thing I was going to say is getting involved in like groups. So like if you guys feel like you have this like good content available, like try to see like what other people in your industry, like what other groups that they're in, and try to like start sending your content to those, or post in those different groups or different organizations that you can be a part of, because maybe it's just that your content could be really good, it could be very visually appealing, but it's just not being seen by the right people. So try to see like different options of ways that you can dole it out there, by seeing like, different community groups and things like that.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, like on LinkedIn, there's a lot of groups that we belong to, and I always forget about like going in, not as Thrive Papa, as Michelle.
Yeah.
And, chatting with them or letting them know, hey, we just like launched this new podcast.
Yes.
So it's just like a good reminder to be doing that.
Yeah, and I feel like it's hard, especially on like things like LinkedIn, to really get a following on those, but typically it's like not necessarily the organization that is really popping off. It's the individuals and the people that are from those companies that are reposting the company's content that they can have people comment on, and they get to extend it out to their wider followers and audience that they have connected with.
Yeah, think about like the Cannabis Marketing Association.
Yeah.
Like they provide this state of the cannabis marketing industry, or like what's hot or going to be hot in 2024, stuff like that. That's like really valuable and kind of helpful.
Absolutely. So we've said this in pretty much everything, but being consistent, that's just the main thing with marketing, is you have to be consistent. So when it comes to your content, you want to be consistent with your branding. So just like what we were saying before of, just being consistent with, if you feel like your brand needs a refresh, then, stick with it. Make sure that you pick something that, pick new colors that you feel are in line with your brand. Make sure you are consistent with your fonts, like Michelle was saying, so that people can recognize you. Like, having that recognition, it is important when you have a company, because, when people are choosing between you and another person or a different company, it's like, oh, well, I know them. I've seen their stuff. Yeah, I'm going to go with them. It could, sometimes it's just as simple as that.
I feel, like just thinking about the website, and I think you want to have a personality, whether it's on social or
I was
your
just
website,
gonna say that.
right? And it's like, if you're on somebody's website and you're reading their information, you want to feel like, oh, that's really cool. Like, you feel like you get to know them because it's like somebody else kind of talking to you, instead of very formal and blah 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 blah, and it's like, okay, I have no idea what they're saying or who they are.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, just also be consistent, not only with like your branding, but like your brand voice. Like Michelle was saying, like the storytelling, the messaging. Obviously, you need to differentiate between the platforms, but still keeping the essence of your company and throughout all of those different things, so that, like Michelle said, that people get to know you, and it really does come down to it being a personality that you're creating.
Yeah. I've had people, whether I'm interviewing them for a job or a new prospect or client, that will say, like, yeah, like, I really like your website because I felt like I already know you. And I already know what your culture is like because I can tell. Like, you can just tell. And so that's kind of cool because then when they come here, they also get that same vibe, right? You know? And that's important because you want to be authentic and very transparent.
Absolutely.
Of what you are and what your brand is.
So Michelle already touched on this, as she likes to do.
I like to jump all over.
I know.
Oh, that's why Olivia's in charge here because she's got to keep me on point.
I know. I'm like, wait a second, hold up. So I was just gonna say that the other thing that you need to do is test. So what I mean by that is obviously track. And we're just really big on that because you can't prove anything if you don't have the information. So when you're looking at, like, why is my content not working? Okay, so, like, do you have any numbers on the content that you've been putting out? Like, on the deliverables or on the emails? Like, what's the open rate? Like, see where that stuff starts. And then as you make changes, make sure that you're able to, you're tracking those to see if the needle is moving at all. One thing that we are big on is A/B testing, especially with emails. Sometimes we can be divided on, oh, do we like this style or this style? And we solve that by A/B testing. If you are in a company and you're like, oh, you can't decide on something, try doing some A/B tests. I think we said this in a previous podcast, but Instagram is coming out with some A/B testing that you can do on reels and different things like that. So, there's Instagram that you can do that on, and obviously you can do that through email. And you can do that through a number of different ways, but just trying to see what works best for your audience, for you. Try different headlines. Like, maybe you want to try something that is a little bit more cheeky and fun, and then you want to try something that's a little bit more professional, and see what your audience is more engaged with. And that also helps when you have to prove things to the CEO or the marketing managers. Yes. Like, see, this is what works, this is what gets people to click.
Yeah. I like to say, like, let the data tell you what to do. Because, for example, if you're taking a website and you're redesigning it, like, one of the first things we should be doing is looking at the analytics. What are the pages that are really important to people because they have the most traffic? We don't want to get rid of that page.
Right.
We want to keep that page. So, just thinking along those lines, and maybe you're going to get to this, I'm not sure. But, like, for the marketing planning, we make sure that we're, like, tracking all of the campaigns and all the results from those, because then at the end of that year, you can kind of look at the data and go, wow, we thought this was going to be a cool campaign, but it kind of sucked. So, like, we're not going to do that again.
Right.
But this other thing, wow, we got a new customer and we got this and da-da-da-da. And so that really will help you make the most out of your marketing budget.
I wasn't going to say that, so I'm glad you did.
Well, okay.
Good. That is important, yeah. Okay. Well, do you have anything else that you wanted to add? Those are my top points that I would say of why your content really isn't working.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I would say is you need to be where your audience is. So say, for example, like, you're marketing to people that maybe are more on LinkedIn or or maybe Instagram, whoever that may be, like, or if they're in different associations, then hey, that's my exact audience. I want to be there because that's who I want to be talking to, and just kind of coming back to the pray and spray. You don't want to do that, and you want to like get very as narrow as you can and as niched as you can, so that you really can connect with them.
Yeah, I think all as much as you can find your niche, like I feel like that just helps you with all of these things. Honestly, it helps you to key into being more visually appealing. It helps you to have better call to actions, and it helps you really create that overall brand messaging and storytelling, because you're like, I know exactly who I'm talking to, I know exactly who I'm marketing to, and that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Okay, question.
Yeah.
Is it niche or niche?
I don't know.
I know, like that.
I did notice I said niche.
Yeah, and I always say niche. So
I go back and forth probably.
I mean, back in my college days.
Is it niche?
Long time ago. Our professor said it's niche. It's not niche.
Oh.
So that's what I always kind of go
Everybody
back to.
comment.
But who knows if my professor was right? But there is a lot of people that I don't know what is the right way to do it either.
I don't know. I'm gonna ask the team and see what they say. Maybe we
They're
should
probably gonna all say niche.
I'm gonna ask them. And
the old people will say niche.
We'll do a poll. We'll do a poll on social, see what people say. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so Michelle, are you ready to debunk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So we're talking about branding and we're talking about storytelling and content. So tell us, like, obviously, branding is just about a logo and a tagline. What are your thoughts?
No. I think branding is like trying to create that personality. And so it's not just a logo. I mean, the logo should tell that story for some, for example, like kind of why our name is Thrive Pop, but I think people forget that, and they'll just come up with some crazy graphic and you're like, what does that have to do with what you do? Like, or what are you trying to tell people by using that? So, I mean, it's important. You have to have that, but that's not all you need.
I mean, it kind of just goes back to what we're saying. It just creates, if your logo and branding, like, is a disconnect from your company, like, I think people are like, oh, I didn't even know that that's what you guys did.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen that happen lots of times where I'll be like, I don't know, I think I saw one that was here in town and I was like, oh, I thought that was a hotel. Like, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
But it was like something totally different. I mean, logos and all of that they have to go hand in hand, and like otherwise people don't know what you are, and you want them to know, like, at first glance.
Right.
What you're all about.
I know, like, we went to over by the Woodland Mall, and there's this new, I think, restaurant. I don't know. But it just had this, like, random name on the side of...
Which one?
I can't remember right now. It was, like, kind of in a brick building. It was over by North Face and that. But they just had this really cool look about it. But I couldn't tell if that was a restaurant or a bar or a clothing place. I was just like, and they had like what they do, like really little, like underneath, and I couldn't read it.
See, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. But like with our name, Thrive Pop, like people always want to know, like, what is that? Where'd that come from? Blah blah blah, and so we have a good story to tell.
Yeah.
And how...
I think, it could go both ways. Like, you could, like, want people to be like, want to know more. But if it's just like totally crazy off the wall, it's like,
It can be random, but I think it's more compelling if, it has a story behind it. It's like thinking about big brands, like Apple. Like, why did Apple become Apple?
Yeah.
Yeah, they put like a little apple on their stuff. Do they really like apples? Like, what? Where did that come from?
Well,
or Nike. Like,
that's true.
Like, what
I
does
don't
that
know
even
about
mean?
the swoosh. No, I don't know. But the only thing I could think about for Mac was obviously the Macintosh Apple.
Yeah.
And then that's how but I don't know why they chose Macintosh either.
Yeah. It's like, what, they really like apples or something?
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's a cool name.
Like, be like, okay, great. Like, I want to.
Can you imagine this whole time if everything was called grape and we'd just be walking around with grape phones?
Strawberry. Yeah. It's like, what a weird thing. But yeah, I mean, once like I tell people, oh well, this is why we chose this name because of this, and then they're like, oh, I get it, or people will just say, I love your name. It's just fun. And, that's one of our core values.
Yes.
That's why we created that.
We want to thrive and pop.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, I feel like, did we do it? I feel like we helped them. We told them why their content might not be working.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Hopefully we did.
Hopefully they're learning from us.
Yes. And if you're not, if you have any questions, I guess I should say, or other things that you want us to talk about, let us know. Check out our website. There's an option where you can email us and let us know what other topics you want us to talk about. Maybe you want to send us some myths that you want us to debunk. We could do that too.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to be on the show. We could also do that.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned. As always, as we always say, our call to action is for you guys to leave us 5 stars. So
5 stars.
Leave us 5 stars. Well, until next time.
All right.
Bye.
Until next time. Bye.
Thanks for listening with us today. Stay tuned for the latest in web marketing and design from ThrivePop. Want to be a pop star? Head over to thrivepop.com/podcast to join our mailing list for episode notifications, sneak peeks, listener feedback, and more.